Good day. I am Chantal Adriosala, a first year college from Mapua University, and today I'll be interviewing Mr. Hector M. Brizuela from the School of Social Sciences and Education in Mapua University. So, good day, Sir
Hello.
Hector.
Hi, good day. And also, good day to the viewers. Good day, Miss Ma'am Janet.
Okay, so for my
Sige.
question, sir, are you in favor of amending or changing the Constitution of the Philippines?
Wow. Okay. So, before that, no, thank you, Chantal, for taking the time to invite me for this exercise. So, the answer to your question is actually quite complex, no. I think it's not particularly a case of a yes or a no, no. So, I am in favor, categorically, of changing the constitution that we have right now. But my position is that though I am in favor of changing that, no, I believe that this is not the right time to change to do a democratic exercise now of changing this constitution. I believe that we should reserve that for another administration, no, for another time.
Okay, so sir, since you answered yes, may I ask what are the changes do you think that is needed in the Constitution and why does it have to be changed?
Okay. Wow, could have been much easier pala, no? If I answered no na lang. Just kidding, no? Sige. So, actually,
Yung
uh,
reasons din eh.
I outlined the number of reasons. So I have seven outlined reasons of the things that I would like to change, no, in the 1987 Constitution. And most of these are not new naman. And these are basically, I'm just echoing the sentiments of a lot of groups. No, we have groups right now who would like to change the Constitution right now. No, we have the Correct Movement, and then we have people's organizations. We have the Makabayan Bloc who are not in favor of changing the constitution right now. So these are a condensation of various points, no? So isa-isahin ko ano yung seven na yun. So first, no, what I would like to change, what I would like to implement, no, in a new constitution would be economic liberalization, no, with industry-based protection. So when we say economic liberalization, we wanted to have a more liberalized economy because the current constitution, the 1987 constitution, no, prohibits a 60-40 rule, no, on ownership of private corporations. For example, it only allows 60% ownership of Filipinos, a maximum of 40% ownership for foreigners, no. So I think it's a problematic thing, no? Primarily as someone who's a professor or an instructor, a teacher of globalization, no, in GED 105, no? It's one thing that we really preach that there is a need for us to acknowledge globalization. So, paano naman magiging competitive yung mga local industries natin? Okay, kung una, ang inaalaw lang na magnegosyo sa Pilipinas ay mga Pilipino lang din na kumpanya, no? So ibig sabihin yung foreign capital hirap makapasok sa Pilipinas, no? And by not inviting or by not allowing foreign companies to come in and participate in the local economy, ang epekto niyan sa atin, our local industries also do not improve because there's no competition, no? So for example, up until now, yung sugar industry natin, which is my favorite example, no? The sugar industry is still very expensive, yung sugar natin, very manual labor, and very, um, dito, hindi optimized, no? As compared to the number one producer, which is Thailand, no? Which could produce cheaper sugar, no? And one of the reason is that kasi binibaby natin the industry that we have dahil walang foreign competition na pumapasok, no? So I believe that it is necessary to liberalize the economy, but no, this has also been brought up by other movements like correct movement, no? But the difference is that I do not believe na dapat 100% economic liberalization. There should be an industry-based protection, no? There should be industries that we allow foreigners to come in, invest, do business, but there are industries that we cannot allow them to come in. Like for example, rice production, no? Agriculture, no? A majority part of the agriculture, no? Pagpapasukin mo yung murang palay, murang bigas, maghihirap yung mga farmers natin, no? Malulugi sila. So, may mga ganong klaseng restrictions, no? So, yun yung isa. Okay? Second, the things that I'd like to change in the Constitution would be an engagement to a parliamentary system. Okay, right now we have the presidential system. It's quite problematic. Especially the voting behaviors of Filipinos, no? Binoboto kung sino yung sikat, kung sino yung mapera, kung sino yung elite, no? Kung sino yung malakas yung kapit, no? So, I think yun nga ang dami nating binoboto na they do not actually work. Like our congressman, no? Or our congressmen, their main role is to make legislation, no? To make laws. And a lot of them wouldn't even have a single draft passed, no? Throughout their entire careers. So, gagawa na lang kayo ng batas, hindi pa kayo makagawa kahit isang batas, no? So, I think a parliamentary system, when we elect ministers, and then the ministers would fill up positions in the government, I think it is giving more responsibility to our government officials, no? The fact that they are more responsible to their posts and they could make rules that would make them accountable for their own activities, no? I think it's good for the Philippines, no? But usually what follows is the discussion na federalism na yan, no? Pag parliamentary, dapat federalism ka. So ako naman, I think we could engage into a parliamentary system, pero we don't really need to be federal. Okay, so it leads to my third in my agenda, no, which is strengthening the local government. No, instead of becoming federal, that way we have more states on the local level. No, what we have to do is to revise the local government code and then improve, no, and strengthen our local government, their cooperation among each other. Kasi hindi ako makapag-go for federal dahil pag federal ka kasi sa Pilipinas tayo, meron tayong mga rebel groups na gustong ihiwalay yung Pilipinas, yung lugar nila sa Pilipinas, no? If we would turn into a federal government, no, baka humiwalay na nga sila ng tuluyan, no. We have poor national identity, no. Kahit pa Pinoy pride tayo and all, no, pag nag-usap-usap na yan, regionalistically divided sila. So baka maka-contribute yon into further fragmentation of the Philippine state. So I would go for strengthening the local government. No? My fourth of the list is better representation of sectoral groups. Kasi nitong nakaraang taon, si President Duterte, no, nung si Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo yung speaker, no, he wanted really to change the constitution, no, and Gloria Arroyo was able to deliver that, no. She drafted a resolution, no, mabilisan, no. Pagdating lang sa Senate, it did not gain traction. No, now, the main reason why President Duterte would want to change the constitution during that time is he wanted to remove the party list system, no? The party list system kasi, this is the Makabayan Bloc, and of course, no, the Makabayan Bloc, we have Gabriela, Bayan Muna, no, Anak Pawis, Kabataan Party List. These are groups that are critical of the administration, no? And the party list system provides for an opportunity to support, no, marginalized groups originally, no. Ganun dapat yan. Kabataan, may women, may fisher folk, may indigenous peoples. Dapat ganon yung purpose, no. So, si Duterte gusto niyang baklasin yung party list system primarily dahil ang dami niyang kalaban doon, no. Yun namang mga nakakakita rin na iba, gusto rin na i-reform naman yung party list system kasi nakikita naman nila na ina-abuse. For example, ang daming mga politicians na nauupo as congressman ng isang party list na hindi naman nagsaserve for the interest ng isang grupo na marginalized, tulad ng I don't want to name, no, but the number one party list in the previous elections, for example, use this certain personality, radio personality, no, sinasabi na sila yung party list ng inaapi, and yet they do not have a single legislation, no, about the urban poor or poverty, no, wala silang ganon, so hindi nila nare-represent. Ang matter lang doon, no, ako ang gusto kong baguhin for that is better representation of the sectoral groups by really having a party list system, no, that would only allow marginalized individuals to represent marginalized groups. So kung halimbawa, kung kabataan ka, dapat kabataan, kung kabataan party list ka, dapat kabataan ka rin, no? Or kung fisher folk communities kayo, dapat mangingisda ka rin. Ganun dapat, no? Mailagay sa constitution yan. Kaya hindi yan mabago kasi nakalagay sa constitution yung party list system eh. Kaya hindi mabaklas yun na kaagad-agad. Maganda na siyang simula, kaso nga lang nagiging opportunity for abuse, no? Na maraming mga politiko na nauupo doon, no? Iba mga sundalo dati, no, na tumatakbo sa party list. Yung iba mga politiko dati na hindi na manalo as congressman, so gagawin tatakbo as party list. Madali kasi manalo sa party list eh. Makuha ka lang ng 1% vote of the total number of votes, meron ka ng seat. Congressman ka na kagad kahit na hindi naman ganun karami yung bumoto sa'yo. So, sana baguhin yung gano'n. Okay, so, tatlo na lang. So, number 5, defining the political dynasties. No? So, nasa Constitution natin, 1987 Constitution, na dapat pinagbabawal ang political dynasties. Okay? And yet, we have a lot of political dynasties. One of the reasons why we do not have political dynasties is that the 1987 Constitution, or rather, why we have political dynasties, despite the restriction of the Constitution, is that the Constitution states that it is a law, no? A law should define. No? Dapat daw may batas na mag-define kung ano ang isang political dynasty. No? Ngayon, sino ba yung gagawa ng law na yun, no? So, mga miyembro din. Di ba? Ng mga political dynasty. So, kung ikaw, oo, gugustuhin mo ba, di ba? So, dapat, sa next constitution, nandun pa rin yung pagbabawal sa political dynasties. Pero napagkasunduan na kung ano ang definition ng isang political dynasty. Pag ang tatay mo ba ay mayor, bawal ka na ba tumakbo? No? Ang up to second level ba of consanguinity? Ang tito mo ba o ang lolo mo ba pag politiko, bawal ka na rin. So dapat malinaw na yung ganon, no, sa next constitution natin. So yon. And then yun, kasi hindi yung papagawin mo pa, for example, sina Binay, papagawin mo pa sina Gatchalian, no? Eh, sila rin yung magkakamag-anak, no? So, gugustuhin ba nila na bawalan nila yung sarili nila? Parang ano naman yun, no? Napaka-imposible. Okay. Okay, number 6 na ako. So, the number 6 is, I wanted to change the constitution to streamline government agencies. Ang dami nating government agencies na patong-patong yung ginagawa nila. Magkakapareho. No? Magkakapareho. Example niyan. We have the Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process. Ngayon yung nakikipag-usap sa mga rebelde, sa mga NPA, sa mga MILF, nakikipag-negosasyon sa kanila. No? And yet, we still have this National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict or NTF-ELCAC. Trabaho na yun ng Office of yung nung OPAP eh. So, bakit pa may gano'n? Meron pa yung ano ba to? Meron pa yung Presidential Advisor on Entrepreneurship. Eh, meron na rin namang DTI Secretary. Meron pang Philippine Reclamation Authority. Eh, ang reclamation work as a civil engineer, no? Siguro, malalaman mo rin to eventually. Ang reclamation work is public work. So, pwede naman siyang nasa DPWH na lang. No? So, ang daming mga ganon. Ang daming mga government agencies na halo-halo yung ginagawa, tapos nagtuturuan sila. So, nangyayari, walang accountability. No, tapos, ang problema pa, sa Constitution, naka-outline na sila. So, hindi silang babago. No? So, yon isang magandang bagay na baguhin yun. And then lastly, no, na feeling ko isa sa pinaka-critical na for the Constitution is to have better roles for the Vice President. No? To have better roles for the Vice President. Kasi, yung Vice President natin sa current Constitution that we have, spare tire lang siya eh. As in, yun lang talaga yung role niya. Wala siyang defined role kung ano ba dapat siya. In the previous administrations, usually, ang ginagawa, ino-offeran siya ng cabinet seat, no? Minsan, secretary siya ng social, halimbawa, si Gloria Arroyo, secretary ng social welfare, si Binay, Housing and Urban Development Coordinating Council Chair. So, binibigyan sila ng ganoon. Pero in this administration, dahil hindi magkasundo yung president at vice president, no? Yun, wala nang budget, wala pang gagawin, no? Tapos, mahirap yung gano'n. It's a waste of taxpayers' money. So, I think dalawa yung dapat gawin doon. Una, bigyan ng definite role yung, kung magpa-parliamentary din naman, no? Baka pwedeng yung vice president na ang parang speaker of the house, no? Pwedeng gano'n. Pangalawa, dapat, kung sino yung manalo na presidente, dapat yung vice president niya na rin yung mauupo. No? Kasi nagiging politically contentious pa yung issue na yan. For example, hypothetically, nasa isang bansa ka na merong ang presidente na matanda, no? Or may sakit na, no? Tapos kalaban niya yung vice president, no, na very able, no, may capability na magtrabaho. Hypothetically lang to, no? Parang, sige, talagang lalabas yung political friction sa kanilang dalawa. Kasi, they did not share the same agenda when they ran for public office. So, posibleng merong agenda talaga yung vice president to take over the seat eventually. And then, the president will perpetually feel insecure, no, teka lang, matanda na ako, baka palitan ako nito and all. So, nauubos yung oras sa gano'n, imbis sa totoong pagtatrabaho. So, feeling ko yon yung isa sa mga importante. Parang mga basic lang itong mga to, no, na parang hindi natin napag-isipan noong 1987. Pero to be fair, kasi pinattern natin yung 1987 sa 1973 Constitution, na pinattern lang din sa 1935 Constitution. So, feeling ko napapanahon talaga na constitution na talagang atin at talagang responding doon sa needs natin. So yun so far, Chantal, yung aking mga naisip na dapat baguhin sa constitution.
Wow, so much for a medyo biglaang interview, ah. Ayun, okay. Thank you, Sir Hex, for sharing your thoughts about it with us. And ayun, I agree naman with actually almost all of your suggestions or like thoughts about sa changes na dapat for our constitution, kasi totoo naman na yun yung nangyayari ngayon.
Ikaw, Chantal, ano sa tingin mo? Ano sa tingin mo ang dapat baguhin? Kung agree ka na baguhin? Agree ka ba na baguhin?
Yes, sir. Kasi actually, to be honest, hindi ako yung super nabasa lahat yung buong constitution, pero based sa mga like based sa basic knowledge ko about the constitution, parang merong certain laws na parang medyo contradicting siya, kumbaga, na ayun, na kailangan ngang baguhin sa constitution, kasi parang nagko-contradict siya, and with that parang hindi siya nagiging maayos. And like what you said earlier about dun sa political dynasty, naalala ko yung discussion natin yun nung senior high school, na totoo nga naman ngayon sa nangyayari ngayon, hindi siya nasusunod kasi walang definition, walang specific definition nun. So, ang nangyayari, sila-sila lang rin yung nagsisitakbuhan. Pero, actually po dito, may tanong po pala ako about dun. Dito sa barangay namin, hindi nila inaalaw na tumakbo na, kunyari, magkamag-anak si Kagawad 1 and Kagawad 2, hindi kayo pwede tumakbo, isa lang ang pwedeng tumakbo sa inyo. So, bakit po ba ganun kapag sa ganito barangays lang, and kapag dating sa matataas na posisyon ay pwede.
Mhm. Ano naman yan eh, actually wala namang law, no, na nagbabawal sa kanila na tumakbo. Kumbaga, dahil barangay level to, alam mo naman sa barangay, pang kahiyaan na lang to, no, na, pagbigyan mo naman si ganyan kasi kamag-anak mo naman yan para hindi kayo mag-agaw sa pwesto, no. So, parang isang pamilya, isang kagawad, no. So, parang ganon, kahiyaan na lang siya. No, ang kaigihan naman natin dito, ang kabutihan nito, na institutionalize na yung batas na yan eh, na meron na talagang restriction doon sa sangguniang kabataan, no? Yung SK Reform Law natin na bago-bago lang, parang 2015 yata yun, no? Yung SK Reform Law. Yun, bawal na anak ka ng mayor, anak ka ng kapitan, tatakbo sa sangguniang kabataan. Yun. So, parang it's a good start, no? Na makita natin in practice na pwede naman pala. Pwede pala talaga na magkaroon ng ganong klaseng restriction. No, we can put it's a good kumbaga sa batas dyan jurisprudence eh. Parang meron nang nagawa na ganito dati. So kung i-argue natin in the future in the constitution na dapat ipatupad yung ganitong restriction, no? Meron na tayong pwedeng balikan na may experience tayo na nagawa natin to ay naging successful. No? Balikan ko, hindi ko natapos yung sagot ko sa tanong mo eh. Kasi yung sagot ko kanina, sabi ko agree ako, pero hindi ako agree sa kasalukuyang panahon, no, na baguhin siya, no. Kasi pakiramdam ko kahit pa maraming mga grupo na may genuine intentions really to change the constitution, no, there are really a lot of elected officials who will be handling this matter na sobrang politically tainted, no? And you cannot, ako on my part, I cannot really entrust them to manage, no, or to take over this kind of political exercise. Kasi pag baguhin natin yung constitution, mga kongresista na naman natin yung 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 mamumuno diyan ng pagsasagawa ng pagbabago ng constitution, which is for me delikado given the kind of decisions that these people have made in the previous contentious matters. Halimbawa, yung issue ng ABS-CBN, no? Napapanahon, no? Kasi ngayon, one year na simula ng shutdown ng ABS-CBN. They've had lengthy discussions on the Congress of investigations about ABS-CBN, and every person, every government agency, BIR, MTC, they would ask kung anong kasalanan ng ABS-CBN sa kanila, and it turns out na wala, no? So kung ganon na talagang nagsusumigaw na sa mukha nila yung ebidensya, and yet they would decide that ABS-CBN was guilty of this and that, no? Parang the kind of Congress that we have right now, is not on my opinion, no? I think hindi ka, ang sakit masabihin, parang hindi ka tiwa-tiwala, no, na pahandle ng ganitong klaseng political exercise sa kasalukuyan. So, feeling ko kahit din naman siguro si Duterte, no, kahit din yung mga pabor dito, mag-agree din naman sila na hindi na rin sapat yung panahon, no, para
Pero sir, ask ko lang po, since nabanggit na this cycle is just going on na ganito na kung sino-sino lang yung nakakaupo, so paano nyo po masasabi na eto na yung right time to amend? Parang ganun. Kasi kung hindi ngayon, so when do you think is the right
kailan?
time? Kasi kung sunod-sunod lang na yung mga napapaupo ay ganito nga, kailan pa?
Okay, sige, good question, no? Meron kasing meron tatlong paraan, no, ng pagpapalit ng constitution natin. Yung CONAS, CONCON, at saka People's Initiative, no? So, yung People's Initiative, mahirap to kasi magpapapirma sa mga tao, no? Parang petition, ginawa natin ng senior high, no? Petition ka and all. Tapos kailangan mo yung parang 1/3 ng lahat ng botante sa buong Pilipinas. So, ang hirap niya. Okay? So, ang pinupush ng Congress nitong nakaraan, nung time ni Gloria Arroyo when she was speaker, is yung tinatawag na Constituent Assembly. So, sa Constituent Assembly, magsasama-sama yung mga congressman tsaka mga senador, no, at boboto sila at gagawa sila ng constitution, no? na napapalit sa 1987 Constitution, which is exactly problematic, no, yung sinasabi ko kanina, no, na sitwasyon, no, kung at pasok din yung concern mo, no, na kung kayo lang din, no, ulit, tas magko-constituent assembly tayo, wala na naman mangyayari, no. So feeling ko ang mas appropriate would be the other method, which is the Constitutional Convention. Pag Constitutional Convention, magse-select tayo ng another set of our representatives. Aside from the congressmen, part sila ng existing system, hindi sila kasama dito, but there will be a separate group of people that we have to elect to represent us in this convention, and doon sila gagawa doon sila gagawa um, ng saligang batas na gusto nila ipatupad. And feeling ko for the next parang okay na sa akin kung next administration and then we have constituent assembly na kasama yung mga congressman, baka iba na yung mga congressman, no? Baka lang, no? Panalangin natin. Baka pwede, no? Pero feeling ko mas pwede kung next administration na, no? Plus kasi feeling ko naman, mga botante, maraming natutunan sa 2016 to 2021, 2022 eh. So, magiging mas maayos siguro silang boboto, no, for 2022. Kasi alam na nila what's at stake, no. Hindi na basta-basta to. So, feeling ko kung iba ang mga tao at ibang mga interest na mangingibabaw by 2022, tas Constitutional Convention tayo at ang i-elect natin ay someone na hindi mga politiko, hindi mga elite, kundi someone na sa tingin natin marepresent talaga tayo, feeling ko mas may chance yon. No? So, hindi siya a matter of time, but a matter of how, no? For it to be effective. Pero otherwise, yun. Ngayon kasi nakakatakot eh. No? Nakakatakot. To be fair, doon sa observation mo, no, na, sir, pare-parehas lang naman sila. Hindi sila pare-pareho eh. Iba talaga sila ngayon. My gosh. I've never seen this level of talagang kakapalan ng mukha. No? I'm so sorry for the term. No? Pero talagang in the previous administrations that we have observed, we have Noy, Gloria Roy, mga hiya pa yung mga yan. Eh. But I think sa panahon ngayon na to iba. So siguro wag na lang. Baka sa next administration na lang.
Okay, so that's a lot.
Okay.
So, thank you for spending time for this interview, sir. I really appreciate you and thank you for joining me.
Yeah. Maraming salamat din Chantal, and also regards sa yung mga kagrupo kay Gabi, and also kay Ma'am Janet. Thank you very much for
thank you,
this
sir.
opportunity. Thanks.
Good day, I am Chantal Adriosla, a first-year college from Mapua University, and today I am with Mr. Alan Siochi, a bank officer from ISWE. So, good day, Mr. Siochi.
Hi, good afternoon, Tal.
So, for my first question, sir, are you in favor of amending or changing the Constitution?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so since you've answered yes po, what are the changes do you think is needed in the Constitution, and why do you think it have to be changed?
Well, first of all, things have already changed. No, I think over time, there's already a lot of laws that need to be amended, and for us to move forward and to be a really developed country, we really have to make some changes in our laws, and primarily it has to do with something mostly from the across all, I think, from judiciary to I think in all level, because it really affects all the country as a whole. Well, I'm not really I think one thing that we really have to amend is really I think we have to start from the presidency, di ba? I think siguro right now lahat ng parang hindi na siya appropriate yung the way we choose our president kasi parang sobrang dami, parang sobrang open siya to everybody who's parang hindi na natin siya nafi-filter yung basta the requirement is really so parang so wide or parang it's so open in a way na para bang kahit na silang sino is qualified. No, kasi it's very important yung we have to do that because para at least we can choose the best one. Although siyempre democracy naman is always dapat we still be dapat kumbaga ang mano natin kumbaga yung democracy still yung pinakadapat na ideal natin. But there's really just some I think laws that we need to be much more strict. Magkaroon tayo ng strict talaga kasi wala eh. I think parang for me I think it's already old and 'di ba since nagbabago ang times and changes the climate of the climate of the government lahat eh parang kasi as a whole country for us to move on kailangan talaga mabago natin yung mga maraming laws hindi lang konti. I think most of the laws kailangan mabago na yun lang.
Okay, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us, Mr. Siochi, and thank you for agreeing to join me in my interviews. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good day, I am Chantal Adriosla, a first-year college from Mapua University, and today I'm with Miss Venice Dangaran. Can you introduce yourself po?
My name is Venice Christine Dangaran. I am senior high school teacher from Mapua University, and I teach English and research subjects.
Okay, so for my first question po, are you in favor of amending or changing the Constitution of the Philippines?
Yes. My answer solely relies on the reason that I feel like 1987 is such a really long time ago. And I think people have changed, and I think the Constitution have to be constantly revisited. Since people change, I feel like it needs to serve people according to whatever they need for the time being. That's why I think yes, absolutely yes.
Do you think we should change it now or it should be another time, parang ganon?
I think now, or as much as as soon as possible. I mean, I know we have a lot of priorities, but I just feel like instead of, since the government has been very much focused on different things, maybe they could actually focus on this instead of nonsense things.
Okay, so may I ask what are the changes do you think that is needed in the Constitution po?
Okay. Let me give you uh some sort of disclaimer. Okay, first and foremost, I did not major law, or I don't have any background about creating constitution and all, creating laws and all. I have the very basic knowledge about it. So I'm not saying that all of my suggestions are correct, or these are just the things, whatever I be saying right now would be just the things that I deem personally as a citizen are correct. Okay? First and foremost, equal rights. Now that goes across all genders. That means equal pay, no gender discrimination, equal rights for our fellow members of the non-heteronormative individuals. And when I say equal rights, I'm referring to all rights possible. And what else? Yeah. Number two, I think this is going to be very drastic, but I just feel like this is necessary. because this is what we need. I think people, I mean, our politicians need to have their length of service shortened. So, people, I mean, politicians have been serving a lot of years. And I think that this is the main reason why a lot of them are becoming, could become more corrupt, more comfortable with the evil things that are happening in the system. And I think shortening this would actually make the people or make the citizens more comfortable about sacking irresponsible politicians or irresponsible government officials. I think. What else? Those are the two things that I just have in my mind right now. So upon hearing the question, yes, those are the two things that would have to be the priority of the constitution should it be amended.
Okay, so thank you, Miss Venice Dangaran, for joining us in our interview for this exercise. And thank you po.
Thank you.
One. Hello, Miss Jenny Ocampo. So, I will be interviewing you about the Constitution. So, first up, can you tell me something about yourself, your profession, and the industry you belong to?
Okay, I'm Jennifer Ocampo. I've been with the corporate for more than 20 years. I belong to the retail industry of our on our market segment or economy segment. How is that?
Okay, yeah.
Industry segment.
Okay, so as a businesswoman, are you in favor of amending the Constitution? If yes, what are the changes needed? And if no, why don't you think that revision is there shouldn't be any revision needed?
Okay, as a business person, I don't think we will need some amendments. As my experience, what I think we need is the implementation of whatever we have in the Constitution. We have a lot. It covers so much, but the implementation is what I see I see the loopholes in what we have.
Okay, so you're talking about the implementation. Do you think that the government lacks the effort to implement it to the people? Hello, Miss Jennifer Ocampo. Hello. Hello. Yeah, okay, we're back. Hello. Hello. Okay, we're back.
Hello. Okay.
Okay, so do you think it's the government's part? That's why there is a lack of um good implementation, or like do you think it's the people who lack in understanding or comprehending the provisions of the Constitution?
It's both. It's both.
Okay, it goes both
First,
ways.
it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Number one, the from the government side, I don't see it as they are well informed, they are well educated of what they should be performing, or the duties and responsibilities as part of the government. So there's no reason for them, or they don't know how to implement it. So that's one.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then on the part of the how do you call it,
The
the
citizens.
people,
Yeah. Okay.
the citizen. So there's no way for us to follow because they don't know what to follow. There's
Okay.
there's there, there's no body that would inform them or facilitate or guide them on how they should do it.
Okay, so for my last question, do you think the people or the people you are with in the industry, do you think they are well aware of the Constitution?
Common people, for example, as a businesswoman, we process the business permits.
Okay, yeah.
We have several business in different locations. If we have the constitution or whatever body that is implementing those, it should be standard and be implemented in uniformity. For
Okay.
example, in Cavite, in Laguna, in Las Piñas, in Muntinlupa, if there's uniform governance or uniform how do you call it, uniform in terms of like the constitution, if it will be implemented, it should be in uniformity.
Yeah.
But in
There's no
our case, they're
discrepancies.
different.
Yeah,
So
okay.
so as far as the business people are concerned, I think there's no need for us to amend anything.
Yes,
We
okay.
just have to implement it.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Jennifer Ocampo, for giving your insights with
You're
regard to my
welcome.
topic. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
One. Hi, Mr. JC Lopez. I will be interviewing today for a specific topic about the Constitution. So, can you tell me something about yourself, your profession, and the industry you belong to?
Um, so my name is Juan Carlos Lopez. You can call me JC for short, and I'm part of the BPO industry. Um, I am a supervisor for learning and development. So
Okay, so as a supervisor for learning and development, um, in terms of the Constitution, are you in favor of amending any part or any provision of it?
um, well, with regard to the Constitution, I feel that there's no need for us. I feel that there's no need for revision. I think it is well put the way it is. Although I believe that strong implementation or strict implementation of the rules that we created, that's what needs to happen.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I would just like to ask, if we're talking about implementation, do you have any recommendations on how the government could implement the Constitution well? Do you think it is because of how the people understands the Constitution? Is it because the people doesn't fully understand what's written on the Constitution? Or is it because the government doesn't take enough action to let the people understand? Or do you think that the people do understand, but they are just not well aware of how they could follow it?
Honestly speaking, if you're gonna ask me, I highly doubt that majority of the people even knows how the system works. I don't feel that they have any idea what are the different bills passed. Um, so I think what we could do in our part, what they could do in our part as leaders is, educate. That's the least that they can do. Um, Maybe make it mandatory in our, make it mandatory in schools. You know, that's just my take on it
Okay,
because
so
that will give them,
okay,
yeah, because
yeah,
that
okay.
will give people like a clear idea. Um, the rules, the policies, the processes that we need to follow.
Yeah. So in your industry, in the BPO industry, do you think that people are well aware of the Constitution?
I think um, I think not really.
Okay.
I don't think people in my profession really knows what rights they are entitled to. I think the
Okay.
only time that they look it up is if they are under some
Affected?
sort of,
Yeah.
yeah, if they're
Okay.
affected.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. JC Lopez. And I
No
really
problem.
appreciate the time that you gave me so that we could talk about it. Thank you very much.
Problem. Anytime.
Thank you. Yan. So good day, Miss Bea Nico Amarilla. Today I will be interviewing you with regards to the Constitution. So before we begin, can you tell me something about yourself, your profession, and the industry you belong to?
Hello, Gabby. My name is Bea Nicola Marille. I am a financial advisor in San Diego, Canada, Philippines. So I belong to the financial industry. So what I do is I help people mainly secure their families, grow their income, and give protection sa sarili nila and sa pamilya nila. So that's what I do.
Okay, po. Thank you very much. So, my first question is, as a financial advisor, are you in favor of amending the Constitution? If yes, what are the changes needed in the Constitution and why does it have to be changed? If no, why not?
I learned about the Constitution deeply when I was in college because I took journalism
Okay,
and
po.
USD. So medyo malayo sa field ko nasa ako right now.
Mm-hmm.
But before I was working as a financial advisor, I was a journalist back then sa Inquirer. So somehow na-touch points ko yung mga ganitong conversations, especially when I was still during school.
Okay.
So hindi pa rin naman nagbago yung stand ko ever since. Pero for me, I do not agree to amend the 1987 Constitution. Mainly because I don't think, number one, very obvious, I think it's not the right time to amend the Constitution ngayon, even if it was proposed years before. I mean, if we're talking about amending the Constitution right now, hindi pa siya right time to really amend, especially with what's happening. Second is, what was it, may naisip ko kanina eh. Tawag dito. Merong certain proposals yung mga lawmakers na gusto nilang palitan doon sa Constitution. And such as tawag dito yung dynasties, yung pag-abolish ng Office of the Vice President, tsaka Office of the Ombudsman. So, para sa akin kasi, hindi necessarily kailangan i-abolish. Alam mo yun, yung parang
Yes,
absolute agad yung kailangan steps na i-take into changing something into the Constitution. I think what the lawmakers can do as of now, if especially they want to amend something or improve something, is to review it. And then, yung mga points na gusto mo na nilang pag-usapan, review mo na, hindi yung totally amended. And then also, another point, and I think my third point is,
okay, yeah.
I don't think na, alam mo yun, parang kasi when you talk about the Constitution, it's the parang written sovereign siya ng isang bansa kasi batas natin yun. And when we talk about changing it, parang may earthquake na nagagalaw ulit yung parang integrity ng isang bansa. Kasi yun yung strong foot natin as a country. So another thing, wait, ano nga yung isip ko isa?
It's okay po.
My last point. Ayun, we don't really need to amend the Constitution right away. Pero, I think ang nagiging lacking is yung implementation itself.
Yes.
Hindi yung pag-amend entirely. Kasi, when we open the discussion about amending the Constitution, parang ino-open din natin yung discussion into politicians abusing power or using their power to control or push yung personal interest nila into amending. Like, let's say, about the charter change, like the president wanted to extend his term, diba?
Yes, po.
And then also another proposal to shifting to a federalist country, which I personally think will not work sa Philippines. Kasi it will also boost yung, alam mo yun, yung parang feudalism, yung yayaman lang yung yayaman.
Yes,
tapos yun,
po. I
I
understand.
Diba? Hindi siya yung parang solution entirely to poverty. Hindi federalism, hindi changing the Constitution, yung solution entirely for the poverty. Yun. Or kung ano mo gusto nilang
Okay po. So you have mentioned that it is better to review the Constitution and then implement it to the people. Pero I have a question po, like, if that's what you think, sa tingin niyo po ba na the government is doing enough to implement it throughout the years? Parang, sa tingin niyo po ba na if you as a financial advisor think na implementation yung kailangan, do you think na yung government officials is ganun din yung naiisip nila and ganun yung ina-apply nila as their job, in their job, parang ganon?
To be honest, no.
Okay po.
I don't think it's enough or even ang tawag doon, bare minimum man lang sana. Kasi constitution is like a really big thing eh. Ito nga ang pandemic na public health crisis, hindi nga nila masolve. What more into it? Changing our entire human rights, di ba? Kasi doon nakataya yung human rights natin eh, economy, buhay natin. So, di ba? So, I don't think the lawmakers are doing enough even before the pandemic. Kasi even before the pandemic, they can't even defend democracy. So ano pa yung pwede mo i-expect sa mga taong mag-change ng lawmaker if democracy itself, it can di nila defend. So, yeah.
Okay po. Okay po. So, thank you very much po for sharing your thoughts and insights. Kahit po ako, marami po akong natutunan po. And thank you
Yeah.
rin po for giving your time po para mapag-usapan po natin to. Thank you po.
Okay, sige. Thank you. Bye, Gabi.
Good evening po. Hello po, I am Julian Bakay, a student from Mapua University, and I would like to ask you po about your views on changing the constitution in our country. Will you please introduce yourself?
Hello, good day. I am Yang.
Okay po. If it's okay po, will you please open your camera?
Hello, sorry. Wala kasi ako sa bahay ngayon.
Okay po, sure. What is your stand po about it?
So at this time, I am not in favor of amending the constitution.
Why do you think the Philippine Constitution should not be changed?
So as I have said, at this time, the constitution should not be changed. Because firstly, we should take into account that amending the constitution takes a lot of time and budget. It does not just happen overnight or for some weeks, as some may think, and a great deal of effort, meetings, hearings should be considered. And at this time, there is a much bigger matter or a much bigger problem that we should be focusing on. And this is the pandemic and our response. Because especially that the daily surge of positive cases are escalating, and we have been on a lockdown for a year already, I think that we should put more value on assessing and responding with the pandemic because Filipino lives are on the line. And as I have said, we could amend the constitution, but not at this time. And it is true that the 1987 constitution is not perfect. It is not flawless, and there are provisions that needs to be clarified, hence the need for the amendment. However, as I have mentioned, this is not the perfect or possible time to change or amend it. It should always be worth noting that in amending the Constitution, we should know who would benefit it and whom the amending of the Constitution would serve. And there is no other answer than the Filipino people or the Philippines, of course.
Yes, I see your point, but I agree with what you said. Another question po is, what do you think some issues that would arise if amending the constitution would happen at this moment?
So in amending the constitution, we should also take a look on what may happen during the process of amending it or the consequences that would be brought upon it. And I think that one of these things that we should look into is that it may be vulnerable to abuse. The amendment of the Constitution would be open to abuse. And why is that? And this is because we should know what are the provisions that are in need of amendments. Genuinely informing the people about these things is a must because, as I have said, it could be open to abuse, such as making this as an excuse for the extension of some politicians' term, especially that we can all see that the Philippine government or the Philippine politics, to say it least, is at chaos at present. Knowing how some politicians are abusing their power to gain benefit, and of course, there are some evident cases about it. And indeed, our constitution at present is not perfect, as I have said, but it is a good document that binds what we have. The Constitution may be amended, but now is not the right time. Not under this government, because there are really some provisions that should be reviewed or changed or amended, as I have said, such as first to prohibit political dynasties or even a clearer articulation regarding the power vested upon the president under the executive branch. And there are also other things that we should take a look into also. And again, as I have said, not at this time, especially that the Philippines is facing a lot of problems or issues. First of this is the failed pandemic response and the weak stance against China in our own territory, the West Philippine Sea, to say it least. And I would also like to add that not all Filipinos are in a good state. Therefore, they would not have the resources needed to be fully aware regarding the proposed amendments for the Constitution. And are we even sure that all the Filipinos know the 1987 Constitution? Because that is one thing that we should take a look at. Maybe we should also take a look at it first before taking such tough moves on deciding to amend the Constitution. And again, I would just like to reiterate that in amending the Constitution, we should know who we are serving for and who shall benefit from it. And that is for the betterment of our country and fellow countrymen. A need to review the Constitution is much better as it could more address the problems and the needs of the people. And lastly, I would just like to add that an effective and efficient implementation of laws and policies are needed. And yes, there are really provisions that should be amended, but not at this time. So that's all for my answer.
Yes po, I understand that lack of clarity in the Constitution will result to greater negative impact and will definitely add to the sufferings of our countrymen. Would you like to add anything else po?
Oh no, nothing more. None so far.
That's all. And good evening po. Hello po, I am Julian Bakay, student from Mapua University. I would like to ask you po about your views on changing the constitution in our country. Will you please po introduce yourself first and what is your profession?
Okay, hello, good evening. I'm Mr. Michael Regino, a faculty of Mapua Senior High School under Language, Humanities, and Social Sciences class.
Okay po, Sir Michael. Are you familiar with the amending of the Constitution?
Constitution, yes, I am.
What is your stand po about it? Are you in favor po or not?
Okay, my stand about amending the Constitution is I do agree that Constitution is not perfect and has to be changed. But I don't agree that we need to do it right now in this time of pandemic and in this time where the government has a leader who is very partisan.
Why do you think po the Philippine Constitution shouldn't be changed?
Should.
Your answer po is not will not change.
I do agree.
I
do agree to change the Constitution.
So why change is needed po in the Philippine Constitution?
Okay, first of all, as a law student right now and a professor of social sciences or an instructor of social sciences, I do think upon assessing the Constitution of the Philippines, which is established and amended 1987, which is the current Constitution that we have, this sovereign law of the Philippines requires us to be requires the different status or the different laws of our country to be fair and valid. But the Constitution itself seems to be vague in some of its provision. Also, the Constitution has aspects that are protecting different classes of our society, which I think it is not fair because as democratic country and promoting equal access to different services of the government, we should not protect anyone. Okay. Then third, the Constitution was amended because of the catastrophic event, which is the martial law. So during that time, they changed a lot in our constitution uh, to prohibit or hinder such acts like declaring martial law, just as what Marcos did. Okay, so but upon studying constitutional law in law school, we think that Philippine constitution can also be can still be the Philippine constitution can still be provoked by such politicians under executive and even legislative department or branch of government. It is also prone to abuse. So even they are not declaring martial law, but they could abuse their power because it is evident in the Philippines Constitution's provisions. Then fourth, there are several sentences or provisions in Philippine Constitution that that makes the Senate and Congress, or that makes the Senate and the House of Representatives to deal with because it is vague and promotes confusion. So, as we know, the legislative branch of the government uh, consists of Senate, 24 senators, and 260, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 260 representatives with party list representatives and district representatives. So the legislative branch, which is the Congress, uh, always do a debate regarding the Philippine Constitution and its provisions. Also, the judicial department or branch of government, which is the composition of the Supreme Court and different special courts, which their duty is to interpret the different kinds of laws. Also, this Philippine Constitution, but unfortunately, we could see that even the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in our country, seem to be uh, hesitant to deliver interpretations because the Constitution itself is vague. So I do think that Philippine Constitution needs to be changed. It must be more specific, more reliable, and time bound. So just like what an academic paper is, so it uh, should be specific, uh, not necessarily short, but it caters all the types of classes or all the classes that we have in our society, but never to protect any classes. Plus, it must fit the different generations. Uh, Different generation like Gen Z, Gen X has different kinds or different approach to deal in certain circumstances. So we are also in this time where we see a lot of social changes. For example, in the perception of gender, perception of religion, perception in education, and perception in uh, selecting our leaders. So we could see that some of the provision that caters the requirements or consists of requirements of different politicians, we could see that we have a lower standard. I just want to leverage uh, the requirements of our leaders in different agencies of the country because they will be they will become our leaders and they will promote different public services for our citizens or their subordinates. So they must be well equipped, capable enough, and smart with experiences and different what do you call this ethos or additional etos is credibility. Okay. So they must be credible enough to become our leaders. For example, we only require presidents to be literate, but we don't require, but for a specific work or such as picture, we require them to pass a certain board examination. For a lawyer to become an attorney, a licensed attorney, they need to pass bar exam. For an engineering student who graduated, they need to pass certain board exam to be called as engineer. Then so be it. For our president, vice president, etc., for our leaders, they need also to be qualified, not just being 40 years old or being a Filipino bona fide citizen and able to read and write. They also uh, they also have this good standard or high standard of becoming a leader. Maybe others could see that it is not about credibility but privileges. But I do think that it is not privileges, but it is a requirement for our leaders to become just like what I said, well equipped and capable enough to do certain ruling and decisions for our country. So those things I think is enough for me to say that that the constitution must be changed.
Oh, I see your point po, sir. Thank you po. You have anything to add po?
Ayun, siguro dun na lang sa maybe to your first question because you seem to be confused of what my answer is. So my answer is I do agree to change the Philippine Constitution because it is not perfect, it is vague, and it has provisions that needs changes. But I don't agree that we need to change it in this time of pandemic and we need to immediately change it just like what the administration, the Duterte's administration is doing. They want to change it, they want to alter it, or they want to amend the form of government that we have. So this is not, uh, maybe some of the justices could agree that it is not the perfect time because uh, if we do it so, then the constitution would be in danger because we could see that the government is really partisan. So they promote party list. They promote what do you call this padrino system. So in this situation, we couldn't uh, just compromise the needs and security of our well-being as Filipinos. So that would be all.
Thank you po, sir. I agree also that our constitution po is not perfect and changing it po, changing po would be have great impact to the country, but this is not really the time for it po. Thank you po. That's all po. Keep safe po.
Thank you too. Good luck and God bless.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, ma'am. Can I request that your camera should be on, ma'am, so that I can see you?
Oh, sorry, but right now my camera is not working. I don't know why. Maybe there's a problem on it.
Okay lang po, ma'am. So, start na po tayo. Let me introduce myself po muna. I am Julian Perling from Mapua University, and I am here to interview you about your stand on the amendment or the changing of the Constitution of the Philippines. So, may I request that you kindly introduce yourself, your name, your profession, and industry?
Yes, good morning. By the way, I'm Miss Marlene C. Belhera. I am a licensed professional teacher, and right now I am teaching in kindergarten at Buenmar Learning Center.
Okay po, ma'am. Yung first question ko po is, are you in favor of amending or changing the Constitution of the Philippines?
Basically, I'm not in favor. So my answer is no.
May I know what is the reason why you are not in favor of the amending of the Constitution?
Though I elaborate it. Okay. So for me, why I did not agree with that, or I said no, because the Constitution is the lifeblood of a nation. It is also the foundation of our society. If our Constitution is being changed, we need to set proper time, effort, and money for the reasons that we need to set plenty of hearings for it. In amending it, we should know who is better to be benefited on it. It will give also a long-term consequences if not done properly. We can amend our constitution, but not now. You know naman, because we are now facing a huge problem. You know, the problem is when the pandemic strike in our country. So that's a big problem. If we amend our constitution, it will be abused by some politicians for their own benefits only. So we should prioritize first the safety of our people before we decided to change our constitution. Therefore, I do not agree with the change of that.
Okay po, ma'am. That is all the questions I have for you. Thank you for giving time for me to interview you.
You're welcome.
Ayun lang po. Thank you po. So, let me introduce myself po muna. I am Julian Perling from Mapuen University, and I am here to interview you about your stand on the amendment or the changing of the Constitution. So, kindly introduce yourself po. What is your name, your profession, and industry po?
Okay. My name is Alvin Clyde Gregorio. I am a lawyer by profession. I used to do litigation before. I handled the court cases, but right now I am currently an in-house counsel of a corporation based in BGC in High Street. So yun, I took the bar in 2015 and I was accepted into the legal profession on 2016. So it's I've been a practicing lawyer for 5 years now.
Okay. So for the first question po, are you in favor in amending or changing the Constitution?
No, I'm not in favor of amending the Constitution.
May I know why po kung bakit po hindi kayo favor of amending?
Okay. Essentially kasi parang the Constitution is there to safeguard yung gobyerno natin. Actually, the Constitution, it's a written text of the aspirations of the Filipino people in general. The reason why I don't want to amend the Constitution is because it actually has a system of checks and balances. In the sense na meron tayong three main branches of government. We have the executive, legislative, and the judiciary. Now, the Constitution is drafted in such a way na there is no concentration of power in a particular branch. For example, the executive, if it commits excesses or abuses, it can be checked by both Congress, the legislature, or by the Supreme Court, by the judiciary. In much the same fashion that, for example, if there are excesses committed by the legislature, the executive and the judiciary also keep them in check, right? And it's the same with the judiciary also. If may mga abusong nagaganap, meron tayong mga processes within the executive and the legislative to ensure that abuses do not happen. Our system of checks and balances was patterned after the US. I think si James Madison yung nag-craft nung ganun. And it is designed in such a way that there is no tyranny or there is no monopoly of power in one particular branch. And I think it works. It has worked for us so far. And if you take a look at yung mga recent clamor kasi for amending the constitution, ito kasi yung may mga vested interests ng mga tao eh. Di ba? For example, gusto nilang tanggalin yung term na dapat yung mga politiko hindi na wala nang restrictions as to like how many times they can run. But we know that that is very, very that is prone to abuse. Kasi syempre gusto lang naman nilang andun pa rin sila sa pwesto, di ba? So gusto nilang baguhin yung sistema to accommodate their brand of politics. And that should not be the case because it should be the politicians who should adjust to the constitution and not the other way around. So I feel like the constitution that we have has a system of checks and balances that ensures that there is no tyranny by one branch. And so as a practicing lawyer, I think it is the most optimal model there is. So yun.
Ayun lang po yung question.
Okay. Tapos na ba?
Opo.
Alright. Sige.
Thank
Sige.
you po sa pag-interview po, pagpayag po sa pag-interview.
You're welcome. No problem naman. Friend ko naman si Matthew din eh. So, no worries.
Sige.
Sige.
Thank you po.
Thank you. You're welcome. Bye-bye. Take care.